Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
And remember this: courage is not absence of fear, but mastery over it. Amen. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot. We've got a lot of them here with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. Good morning. And a good morning to you. I was sitting here all morning at my desk and then over here at the studio desk and never had a fly bother me at all until I turned on the microphone. Now I got a whole bunch of them dive bombing me. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a great big fall tire sale going on right now. And also some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. I hope they get all the buttons pushed right over there. You're on the air. Good morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I tell you what, I think you're going to be calling back in a little bit, so God bless you and thank you for the pledge this morning.
You bet.
All right. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Right now, let's get ready for the weather forecast. Hello to K&R Rental. Oh, my goodness. They've got all the rental tools and equipment for both long and short term. And feel free to contact them for more information about all the tools that they have, all the equipment they have to get all the jobs that you need done. That's right. K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. And they're right there. You couldn't miss them if you wanted to on the Burley-Paul Highway. Yep, number to call Roger and the crew, 678-3122. K&R Rental. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's a little bit frosty this morning, but that is going to burn off, and we're going to have some sunny skies for today. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Areas of frost this morning. Otherwise, like I said, sunny skies, slightly breezy, winds out of the east-northeast, about 5 miles an hour, switching to the north by this afternoon, expecting a high of 67 tonight. Going to be frosty again, especially in those early morning hours. Clear skies with a low of 38. By tomorrow afternoon, sunny skies, high of 73, expecting an overnight low of 42 under clear skies for Wednesday night. By Thursday, sunny and 78, and as we hit Friday, sunny and 77. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
You can't complain about that. Beautiful weather. Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. They get there early in the morning at 7 a.m. to start things off for you at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. K&R Rental. Hey, you can't make it in there? Call. You need information? They'll give it to you. 678-3122. K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. You get a hold of them today. Want to remind you, too, Thursday means sale day at the sale that works for you, and that's the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley with Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. Oh, yeah, and all the crew serving you. Number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. 678-9411. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, Thursday sale day, 10 a.m., the sale that works for you. Don't forget that. We've got a lot of great people coming on the program this morning. Wow. I can't wait to hear some of the newcomers that are going to be on the show. And I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, they say, come on in. You went hunting? You got your sleeping bags full of Cheetos and everything else, peanut butter, jelly. Well, hey, they'll clean them. Get them ready for the next hunting season. Don't just throw them in the closet and let it kind of fester and wait for another year. You better get them in there and get them clean. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And, of course, they also can do your washing, too. They can really help you save some time if you're in a hurry. Wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes. Did you know that? At Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Really, really good, folks. We have, wow, I am so excited to have at 9:06 this morning a lady by the name of Sally Pipes, and she is going to be on the air, and she wrote an excellent article about the doctor shortage in this country, the United States. Then, of course, at 10:06 this morning, Dr. History, and then at 10:32 this morning, we're going to be talking to a pastor in Ocala, Florida, and that's Pastor Paula White, and she's given the invocation for Donald Trump. So let's have a great morning this morning, and I want to say that I heard that Mary Salerno, Mary and Tony Salerno, Mary has taken a spill and broken her wrist, and on behalf of Deanne and I, we want to extend the very, very best of quick healing for a little lady, but she's a dynamo. Man, I'll tell you what, dynamite comes in small packages. Mary, get better soon. I hope that wrist heals real, real fast. And I want to also say, and I didn't say thank you to him the other day, Eddie Donagle gave me some really, really nice, I collect all kinds of Green Bay Packer football memorabilia, and he gave me some really, really nice Green Bay cards, and I appreciate that. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to remind you about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, and let them know what you need, and they'll have it ready on the counter for you, 678-0459. Now, listen, over 6 decades, wow, of serving you. I mean, that's a long time. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, the very best of people serving you. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. And the number, 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, I'll be right there. Hang on just a minute. I also want to remind everybody real fast about our friends at Denny's Restaurant. And we had a really, really fun time last week at Lunch Bunch. We do every month. But this next month in October, we're going to have our Halloween party. And we're going to have special prizes to the top costumes and masks at Denny's Restaurant. I'll tell you the date on that in a couple of days, so hang tough on that. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland and Burley. And another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant, it is America's Diner. Whether you go in there for breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time, super nice people serving you great food. Look at that menu. Wahooty, it's great. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Yep, America's Diner. Caller, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, my friend.
Hey, just a thought. When Rosenstein goes to the White House on Thursday, President Trump, is he going to be scanned for a wire?
Well, needless to say, almost everybody that goes in is scanned and tested for devices and or whatever. But Thursday of this week, and I'm really glad you brought this up, there is going to be so much going on Thursday in the news. I don't know how in the world everybody's going to keep up with it. Supposedly, we're going to have the Senate hearing with Ms. Ford and Kavanaugh, and then also the deal with Rosenstein and the rest of them on that mess and the 25th Amendment. I mean, the list goes on and on of things to be concerned about. Thursday is going to be the biggest news day I think we've had since the election.
I agree with you, but I do feel that they should do that and possibly a full body cavity search on him too. Say, make sure you're clean. Okay, come on in. You can talk to him.
You know, I got to ask you something, Doug, being that you're caller number one this morning. Did you watch the interview with Fox's Martha McCallum and the Kavanaughs?
I didn't watch it in full. I just seen bits and pieces of it.
Well, I got to tell you that I've been to a couple county fairs and hog calling contests in my life. I was absolutely cringing at the questions that were asked and the answers that were given. I thought it was as open and honest as an old screen door falling off its hinges. And I'm telling you what, I don't think, if you look at body language, and I want to know if you looked at this, if you look at the body language of whether he was talking and answering a question or whether it was his wife that was answering a question, their eyes never wavered. They looked right at Martha McCallum, and they just absolutely never wavered, never looked down, never looked up, nothing. I honestly think that if you were to go on body language with that interview, the Kavanaughs hit a home run completely, not out of the park, but across the street on the other side of the street. I think they are being absolutely 100% honest.
I think they are, too. One thing he needs to do is take a page out of Clarence Thomas's playbook and get a little more aggressive.
Yeah, but wait a minute. And you're such a dear friend, I hate to kind of criticize you for your statement. There were others that said the same thing, that Kavanaugh should have said this, or he should have said that, or he should have answered in a certain way. And I guess my response to you and some of the other critics would be, Doug, and please take this as a friend, how would you know how to answer unless you were sitting in that same position?
Well, this is very true. This is very, very true. You know, but you take Clarence Thomas and listen to his rebuttal to all of the charges. He literally give the senators there in that hearing a tongue lashing.
Yeah.
And Kavanaugh isn't quite as outgoing, I don't think, as him. I think he's more reserved.
Yeah, but wait a minute. That might be a good thing. I was really impressed with his reservation on the answers. I was very impressed with his, she asked him a pointed question of, who do you think is behind all this? And he stopped, and he looked right at Martha McCallum, and he said, I just want a fair process. He would not point the finger at anyone. And you know as well as I do, Doug, my old friend, he's got a lot of people on his hit list that he would like to name.
Exactly. And I know who I'd name.
Yeah.
There'd be about three of them: Obama, Soros, the resistance.
Yeah. There's no question. No question.
No question at all. And I think what needs to be done, if they want to get an investigation into this, I think they should investigate it even after the vote. They should investigate this and follow the money and find out where and how much money she is getting paid for doing this.
Well, and here's the other side of that, and I totally agree with you that if these people get off scot-free and walk out the door after their allegations, and again, I'm going to give the devil its dues, again, after proving that the allegations and the accusations are completely pointless and fraudulent, there should be some repercussion that goes against not only the accusers, but also the attorneys and also the Democratic Party for the vile contempt and hate that they've caused.
Exactly. Yep. And Ford should be named. Feinstein should be named.
Yep.
Every every Democrat that went on the air and says, I believe her, he is guilty, he needs to prove his innocence, should be named in that lawsuit. What happened to our justice system?
I hear you got another call coming in, but I'll quickly give me your spiel about the senior centers, and we'll run to the next call.
Okay, let's take care of our senior centers, everybody.
All right, thanks, Doug. I appreciate it, man. He's a man like a what's the sea person or sea being? Octopus, many arms, trying to reach out and answer all those phones. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Quickly, go ahead, please.
Zeb, some of these gals are accusing Kavanaugh of misconduct. They were so inebriated. They don't know whether it was Kavanaugh or Nikita Khrushchev.
You know, Bob, I want to try. I'm not going to make any jocular remarks about this, and I know you won't either. But the point is, alcohol and drinking played into both of these people, Ms. Ford and supposedly this Ms. Ramirez. And both of their memories were, let's say, shortened, or they have a lot of holes in their screen door trying to remember exactly what happened at the various events. I don't know how, and I thought about this last night, I don't know how you can accuse someone and sit back when you absolutely, well, I'm not sure it was him. I'm not sure what date it took place on. I'm not sure where it took place. I'm not sure if anybody else was in the room or not. How can you make an accusation like that and destroy lives when you have absolutely nothing for any base?
Well, they're getting paid for everything. And I'll tell you, Lady Feinstein, she'd fit right into that category, I'll bet you many 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Well, I can't argue the fact that I have contempt for Dianne Feinstein. Actually, I got to say that I have contempt for the way the entire Democratic Party is acting over this, like a bunch of sharks waiting to go after raw meat in the water. And it just makes me sick that our politics and our political system is down to this.
Oh, it's terrible. And you know that gal was asking Kavanaugh questions yesterday? She had to be as stupid as they come.
No, I disagree with you. Bob, you're a good enough friend. I'll tell you when I think you're wrong. I think she was asking those questions because it was a buffer zone kind of a question to not only prepare for what might be asked at the Senate hearing, but also to let the public know by watching him and his response and his body language how honest the man really is. I think they were good questions, even though they were very blunt and embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the best word, is embarrassing. I just can't understand. Have a good day, Zeb.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much for your call. Appreciate it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'll be right back. I got to tell everybody about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Yes, I'm going to be starting down there again. I got some old trouble with my legs again. Doggone old things just don't want to operate like they should. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation with Nick Greenwell and all of his physical therapists. Absolutely excellent people that know all the exercises, and they've got the only pool of its type, the hydrotherapy pool, in this entire area. I urge you to call them and make an appointment so they can help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Please take my advice. I would not lie to you. They're the best. 678-1191. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. I got two things to say. First is, if it isn't important for these women to come forward after 30 years, it wasn't important then, and now just because Kavanaugh's trying to get nominated for a seat on the Supreme Court, now it's important.
Yeah.
I think that ought to be thrown out, because if it wasn't important 30 years, it ain't important now. It's just the simple fact of the matter, you're trying to get some attention for no daggum reason.
Well, You know, Riley, and you bring up an excellent point to the extent that Judge Kavanaugh is not a first-time judge. He's been a judge at a high level for a long period of time. Why did they wait until now to bring anything up with all of his exposure on the bench as a ruling judge that has made some very important decisions? But they waited until now, and I question why. And I absolutely am not if you were a betting man, let me ask you this, Riley. If you were a betting man in Vegas, what do you think the odds are right now in favor of Kavanaugh becoming a Supreme Court judge or not? How would you place the odds?
I'd bet he would.
No, what are the odds? Give me the odds.
I don't know how to do odds like that, Zip. I'll be honest with you. I don't gamble. I wouldn't know how to.
Well, okay, I'll help you along on that. Let's just say that 100% of the people, no, it's not going to be the 100% of the people, but I will say that right now, with all this trash and filth that's being leveled at the Kavanaughs, I still would give him 60% favor that he will become a Supreme Court justice, 40% against. I think 60-40 are the odds that he still can be appointed to the Supreme Court.
I think 80% would probably still vote for him. It doesn't matter, and that brings up my second deal here. It doesn't matter who they nominate or who they want to put in there. The people on the left are going to keep fighting for this left and right, all the time until they get the person they want in. It's not going to work. They'll fight it tooth and nail.
I agree with you. Riley, thank you for your call as always. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good young man right there. Boy, I don't know why we had so much feedback this morning, but woo, it was blowing my head off. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric. They offer service you can trust, along with Lennox products that can help keep you comfortable and possibly save you money. That's right, Ramsey Heating and Electric, offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases, and you can call them today and find out more. 678-0459 or visit ramseysonline.com. Proudly offering Lennox products, just another way to make you feel better. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again.
Well, I didn't know you left.
Hey, I'd give it probably 70-30.
I'm going to go down to 60-40 because I think the vileness and the filth and I'll be honest with you, what happened to Ted Cruz and his wife at that restaurant in D.C. is indicative of how absolutely filthy and low the Democrats can go.
Yes, it is.
And by the way, I should say, for those that aren't aware of what happened, Republican Texas Senator Ted Cruz and his wife, they were going into a D.C. restaurant and protest. Doug, here's a question for you. How did the protesters know that Ted Cruz was going to be at this certain restaurant? Did you ever think about that?
Yeah.
Where did they get the information that he was going into the restaurant, and before he even got a chance to sit down with his wife in a quiet dinner, it shows protesters confronting Senator Cruz and his wife and condemning him? I got to give Cruz credit. I do, because he said, God bless you to the one woman that was attempting to block him from taking a seat at the table, and the protesters surrounded the table. And my question to you, Doug, is this. If you and your wife were out to eat, and a bunch of these nitwits came around the table and were chanting and just absolutely disrupting your evening, wouldn't you call for management to get these people thrown out? Where was the management? Where were the people that owned the restaurant in handling this situation so that their customers weren't confronted?
Well, there's two answers to that question. One, whoever was aware of Cruz and his wife making reservations at this restaurant on his staff could leak it out.
Yeah.
Or two, the restaurant is left leaning And somebody at the restaurant found out Cruz had reservations at this time and leaked it out.
I don't know, and I don't know as if we'll ever know that. But I'll tell you what, I don't know about Doug Martin, but I know about Zeb Bell. And if my wife and I are at a table, and it's happened once, and we had to ask these people to leave us alone. There were some people that came up and bothered me one time, and I said, okay, fine. You can talk to me any other time you want, but not here when I'm having a private dinner with my wife. Leave me alone now or else. And fortunately, it was taken care of, and they were asked to leave, etc. But I don't know how you'd handle it, but with these kind of filthy people that are standing above you while you're sitting at a table trying to order a meal, or maybe you're having your salad and or eating the meal, this is disgusting.
It is disgusting. It just goes to show that when Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high, she had her chart upside down.
Well, and then Maxine Waters said that no matter where they are, confront them and cause a scene. That shows you the vile stupidity of the left and the Democrats.
Right. And also, too, every one of those protesters, they need to be investigated on their bank accounts and see how much money they got that day to do this. These are paid protesters. I'm fully believe that.
Oh, I can't argue that.
Wrong, but I fully believe it.
Oh, I can't argue that at all. But they were after Cruz primarily because he has known and has been friends with the Kavanaughs for many, many years. So my question is, when all this news story broke about Ted Cruz and his wife going out to eat, how did they know? How did they get organized? And how did they know where to go? The whole thing stinks as far as I'm concerned.
It does. It does. Like that Candace Owens and that other guy that was at a restaurant, and some people seen him there, and they started texting, and lo and behold, before they left, there was a bunch of people outside protesting.
Yeah.
I mean, these people have no jobs. They got to have no job, or they can't show up at any time at a given place. They got to be on standby. I mean, it just makes sense.
Well, you know, that's really something that there might be a special telephone number that you can speed dial. I guess you could call it dialing for idiots.
Yeah. Well, how does all the Democrats have the same talking points? How do every one of the mainstream medias have the same talking points?
I just find it so appalling today that there is no decency anymore. There's no arbitration, whether it's on camera or whether it's at the podium. It's got to continue on into private life. They have to go on people's lawns. They have to stand in the archways of people's garages to their home. They have to yell and scream. They have to go to restaurants. This thing is just absolutely out of hand.
Exactly. And I agree. People have a right to protest, but their rights end where my nose begins.
Yeah, and not only that, they have a right to protest, but then also people have a right to privacy. And if I'm out with my wife or you're out with your wife and you want to have a nice dinner, quiet dinner, etc., I know I'm going to take heed over saying this, but, you know, some of these protesters deserve a good, swift punch in the nose.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So, anyway, I got to run. Oh, one more quick thing before you go to the next caller. What do you think of those law students that protested class at 18 classes were canceled and they went to the courthouse to demonstrate against Kavanaugh?
Yeah. This is so despicable. You know, I'm going to talk about this in just a minute, but I'll mention it to you quickly, and caller number 2, stay there. I heard something last night that really made a lot of sense. Unfortunately, I hope it doesn't happen. Right now in this country, if you are accused of something, you're accused of something, I'm accused of something. Now the left is saying that we are the parties that have to prove our innocence. In other words, the old adage that our laws were founded on, you're innocent until proven guilty, no more. If you're accused, now you are responsible for proving yourself innocent. This whole thing is turned upside down by the left.
It is. It really is. And they're taking a page out of the IRS's playbook.
Yeah, absolutely. Doug, got to run. Thank you so much. Caller number 2, stand by. I'll be right with you, I promise. I want to remind everybody about our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my. Over there at the Burley location at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, we have Juan. Hello, Juan and the crew. And then at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, Eli and the Nampa location. Now, I had somebody tell me the other day, well, gee, I need a Bobcat loader. I got to clean up this and that, and I don't know how to run one. Well, I said, why don't you just go down there at Berry Equipment and Rental, and they got a great big sandbox out behind the business, and they will teach you. They'll give you all the particulars on how to run one, and then load it up and take it home and get the job done. Absolutely easy. They've got all the equipment rentals and the retail equipment sales at Berry Equipment and Rental. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and in Nampa. Don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your patience.
Good morning, Zeb. Did you ever run across someone to even see them or to meet them just made your skin crawl?
Yes.
You're talking about Kavanaugh. He came on TV last night, and I'll tell you what, it's not good to hate people, but this guy is the most hateful person I think I've ever seen.
Well, let's back up a minute, Keith. And for those that aren't aware of who you're talking about this sleazy, absolutely slant-eyed, can't trust no matter what I do to look at him, attorney that is representing the stripper that supposedly was tangled up with Donald Trump. I mean, I'm not even going to go into the salacious part of the story. And now he comes out and he says he's going to be an advocate for all the women's cases like this. I mean, this guy is nothing but a slime ball.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And he says he's got so many witnesses lined up that will shoot holes in this thing, and he's just going on about it.
Why do you think he's doing this, though, Keith?
And I hope he gets the nomination for the Democratic Party.
Well, you answered my question. I was going to ask you, why do you think he's doing this? And you answered it already, because this absolute perverted slimeball attorney is running, he says, for the presidency on the Democratic ticket. Holy moly. I didn't think they could go that low, but they must have dug a new hole.
I think he should be the poster child of the Democratic Party.
Well, there's other things I think he should be, but I can't say some of them on the air this morning.
That's
so
been too kind, isn't it?
Okay, I got to run, Keith. Thank you. Excellent point this morning. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget, I said a minute ago, and I'm going to say it again, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering a service that you can trust. They've been in business over 60 years. Man, I tell you what, that is a trademark right there for excellence in business. Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with Lennox products that can help keep you comfortable and possibly save you money, too. They're offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases with Lennox. Don't forget, call the number 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. Don't forget, Ramsey's and Lennox, just another way to make you feel better. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. You know, I give Kavanaugh 90% chance of being confirmed, and I'm ashamed of myself for saying that, because I should say 100%, because I believe there's a Heavenly Father that does protect people from being harmed from horrible people. But I know some of the time the job isn't done, and I have to say I'm ashamed of myself for not saying I'm 100% sure he'll be confirmed, because I think he's the right man for the right job at the right time.
Well, Jerry, I don't think you should ever back up on what you said. You don't need to apologize. I said I thought the chances were down because of the sleazy liberal left down to 60-40. It's just the evil of mankind. It's the absolute evil demeanor of people hating other people for what their stance is on various subjects. And I said 60-40, so you said almost 100%, 90%, whatever. Don't take any condemnation for that, because I think you probably are right.
I appreciate that. And I'll get out of your way. Sounds like you've got another one wanting to get in.
Well, I appreciate it.
You're going to say something that's very important.
All right, Jerry, God bless you.
May the Lord bless you and your whole audience.
He has, Jerry. Thank you, and God bless you, my dear friend. Thank you. Caller number 2, you are on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I think my opinion is that this is an embarrassment for the whole country.
Oh, yeah.
What the Democrats are doing, the fact that the Republicans are not standing up. You know, how can anybody even want to say, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican? This is so embarrassing that this is happening to our country. This should not be here.
You know, you and I are very close to the same age. In my life, I do not ever recall, ever, in any newscast, on any talk show, on any newspaper story, whatever, the filth and the sleaze that you and I and the American public are being subjected to right now over a positioning nomination for a Supreme Court justice, and what the left is doing to him, his family, his daughters, etc. It's absolutely bottom of the barrel slime.
And I don't understand why now Clinton appointed him as a federal judge. Why wasn't this brought out then?
Well, I said that earlier. I don't care if it was Clinton or Bush or whomever's made the appointments of these people as federal judges, etc. Do you mean to tell me that all of a sudden somebody had an epiphany and said, oh, he's going to be a Supreme Court judge. I've got to tell everybody what happened to me 36 years ago, even though I don't remember where, even though I don't remember who, even though I don't remember when. I've got to come out forward.
Exactly. And the other thing is they are doing more damage to women's rights than good. Because how many people will even believe a woman now if there really and truly is a situation that comes up? And we know it happens.
Yeah, but Sharon...
Now, who will believe them?
Yeah, but Sharon, wait a minute. This is the left's ploy on women, and many of the so-called women feminists have been coming out and saying that, oh no, if a woman makes a point like that, you have to believe her, and you have to go after the accused. They are guilty. Men are guilty. Men are slime. And now this one woman from Hawaii, I forget her name, a senator, she basically came out and said, no, if they make an accusation like that, they have to be believed. It's as if I don't have a leg to stand on, and no matter what I say, I can't prove myself innocent.
Exactly. And it's wrong, and I firmly believe, that if a woman accuses a man and she's lying, and they find out she's lying, she should be penalized just as greatly as that man would have been.
Yeah, but let's go a step further on this. Let's just pretend that all of a sudden both women, naturally I think Ramirez is nothing more than a pile on to the story. I think she doesn't have any credibility at all. She should have been thrown out at the get-go. But let's just assume that Ms. Ford also is lying and has been bought in the attempt by the left to hurt this nominee. What then? I think not only go after in lawsuits against Ms. Ford, also her attorneys, but also the people that have helped push this, the Democratic Party. There's got to be some recompensation for all the hurt, the heartache, and the absolute money wasted.
Absolutely. And I know that is also a double-edged sword, because then there will be women that will say, oh, I'm not going to say anything because they're going to go after me and prove my credibility. Well, you know what? If it really happened, there is no doubt that you are credible.
Well, I said the other day on the air...
Keep your mouth shut.
I said the other day on the air, and I'll stand behind this, and then I got to do a weather, but I said, do you really need, whether it's man or woman, do you really need to sit down with attorneys, and do you really need to have prep time to tell the truth?
Right, and why did she go to political people and not to the law?
There you go.
This is a legal thing, not a political thing.
Yeah. It just stinks. That's what it is. What's that? Sharon, you're always welcome to call, and I appreciate it. And if you get a chance, call me after the program. I've got some other information for you.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you much. Appreciate it. Holy moly, I got to quit talking and get the weather forecast on here. Oh, my. Yeah, and the weather is brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Wonderful, wonderful people. Dr. Christine Pickup, she's got that new book out called Communication Tips for Happier Relationships. Excellent little handbook, and I urge you to try to get one today. Yes, you can get a copy all by your lonesome. All you need to do is go to Mount Harrison /radio, go to the request line, and they will send you a copy. It's a great book on communication tips. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room, and I urge you to call if you're having any hearing problems, 312-0957. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's a little bit frosty this morning, but that is going to burn off, and we're going to have some sunny skies for today. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zephyr Ranch. Areas of frost this morning. Otherwise, like I said, sunny skies, slightly breezy, winds out of the east-northeast, about 5 miles an hour. Switching to the north by this afternoon, expecting a high of 67 tonight. Going to be frosty again, especially in those early morning hours. Clear skies with a low of 38. By tomorrow afternoon, sunny skies, high of 73, expecting an overnight low of 42 under clear skies for Wednesday night. By Thursday, sunny and 78, and as we hit Friday, sunny and 77. That's your weather forecast for Zephyr 3.
Wow, that is a wonderful forecast, and brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, Dr. Pickup, Dr. Mitchell. They can always, you can trust your hearing health to them. They want to help you. They can help you at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Hey, we've got a brand new business/service to talk about, and I think it's fantastic. It's called Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. Holly Rowe, a great, great lady. She told me about this the other day, and if you're a senior and you want to stay at home, and you might have a little trouble on a daily basis, maybe with, meal prep and personal hygiene and light housekeeping, and you need somebody to help with the errands or whatever, call them. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors. And they can come get you to a doctor's appointment or go to the grocery store. Call them to get more information and reserve your weekly spot. I'm telling you, this is a service long overdue. Contact Holly at 312-5715. I'll say it again, 312-5715, or go to Holly at heartsforseniors.net. This is a great idea. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wheels, I'm so sorry. Did you notify me that we had another call waiting? I can't remember.
No, you're all right.
Okay, buddy, thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. So I guess basically to sum up on this story for this morning is Thursday is going to be a crazy day, and there's going to be all kinds of things going on, and boy, we'll have to sort it all through the weekend and get back on Monday. We're going to have quite a few guests involving what takes place at the Senate hearing, etc., on Thursday. Let's see what else have we got in the news this morning. Oh, my. Oh, we got another call. We better take that first and foremost. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, Deb. I think just one little quick short thing. Does anybody notice that she always wears sunglasses, when you look at her? You know why she does? Because the eyes are the thing that tell on you. If you are lying, the pupils in your eyes become really, really small. And if they're going to question her, they should have her take off her glasses.
Well, I absolutely don't think that she should be allowed to wear any sunglasses, etc. But you notice what you just said, though, is really, really true. Last night, watching the Kavanaughs, Mr. and Mrs. Kavanaugh, on that interview with Martha McCallum, wow, I was impressed with the straightforward look. The look in the eye, as you put it a moment ago, and the way he looked right back at Martha and said, I have done nothing wrong. I have not committed these crimes. I am innocent. That right there, I mean, boy, if somebody wanted to rehearse that, I don't think they could do that good a job. He was very straightforward.
Well, and really, the reason he brought his wife is because he wanted to show them that he was not afraid to confront these people with his wife in the audience.
I agree.
And I think if he were hooked up to a lie detector, he would do it with his wife in there. When you're ashamed, you're not wanting to let the whole world know it. And I just hope they figure out something to get rid of her, because that makes it all more obvious that she's lying.
I have a tendency to agree with you all the way. And Chris, good to hear from you again. God bless you, and thank you for your call.
And thank you.
All right, take care. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
It's a Yummy Man with the senior menu for today.
Hello, Yummy Man. What's cooking?
I have Salisbury steak and noodles, probably some gravy, mixed vegetables, and peaches for dessert. They can also call in and get a lunch to go. It's the best value lunch in town.
Well, it is. So today, my friend, you're going to have yummy peaches.
Yep, at the Senior Junction on South Overland.
Joe, you do a wonderful job every day. I mean, man, you are getting so well known. Pretty soon you're going to have to write your own newspaper column.
All right, have a good one.
All right, buddy, thank you. The Yummy Man talking about the Senior Junction. That is the great Joe Taylor. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Hey, I've got kind of a problem. I check you out on YouTube, and I can't find you on YouTube no more.
Why is that?
That's a good question.
I'll have to be checking with my computer guru. Maybe they've taken me off. I know I've had problems in the past. They don't like some of the things I say and some of the conservative viewpoints I have. But I immediately, after this program, will get a hold of John, and we'll check that out, and I appreciate your comment.
Yeah, I'm the Blade Doctor, and like I said, I've got you on my phone. They didn't take it off of that.
Okay.
But they've been doing some really weird things lately, and it's pretty felonious.
You know, I appreciate your call. It takes people like you to notify me and others where there might be some wrongdoings, but God bless you, and I mean that. Thank you, sir, for your call this morning. That meant a lot to me.
Not a problem.
All right, sir.
I think they're doing bad.
All right. Have a great day. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. I'll do some checking on that with John right after the program. You know, it wouldn't surprise me, because we are stepping on a lot of liberal toes, not only here, but nationwide. And our internet audience is absolutely huge, and it wouldn't surprise me. The liberal left will do anything they can to stymie or stop our viewpoints. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. Thank you again to that gentleman. I want to remind you about our major sponsor, and they have been such a great sponsor to work with over the many years, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a great big, this means huge, fall tire sale. Wow, you don't want to miss the prices. You don't want to miss the great buys on all the different tires, all the different tread designs, all the different road conditions that you're going to be driving, etc. They've got the tires for you. Whether it's a car, pickup, SUV, trailer, whatever, stop in and see them today. Now, in addition to all the tires, you know they provide the best in service on brakes, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, and I want to emphasize batteries a little bit this morning. The temperatures in the morning getting down there, and you want to make sure that four-wheeled wonder is going to start. You got to have a good battery. So check it out today. Stop into any one of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Well, it looks like we're going to wrap it up and put it back in the box for this first hour, and I really am excited to have a lady that's the president and CEO of Pacific Research Institute, Sally Pipes, coming on the program at 9:06 and talking about a doctor shortage here in the United States. Very, very serious. And a lot of fun for the rest of the morning. Thank you for tuning in. Zeb at the Ranch. We'll go right now to CBS News and be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. I bet your wheels thought I was never going to turn the microphone on. Well, I forgot anyway. Zeb at the Ranch, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a great big fall tire sale right now. And of course some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We've got some other great friends we want to talk about also, and that is, of course, Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, don't forget they've got the Go Mini portable storage units, and I see so many of those around. If you've got a lot of items and not much space, hey, these minis can help. Go Minis from Western Waste Services. All you do is call them at 734-6969. Tell them you'd like to have a Go Mini. They can bring it out. You can fill it up. You can store it on your place, or they'll take it back to their location and lock it up. I'm telling you, great, great service from Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Wonderful, wonderful people. By the by, I want to tell you, too, about some other wonderful people. And that's Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Oh, my goodness. They absolutely take care of your pets, take care of your livestock. Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, the entire crew, they know that healthy animals mean a lot to you. And, of course, it means a lot to the pets, too. They want to know that the boss is taking care of them, whether it's little bitty kitty cats or you got a great big herd of dairy cattle. They can and they will help you. Take care of your animal friends, and the best are, of course, at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union. And the number to call, put it on your refrigerator, 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital, where they have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Wonderful, wonderful people. We've got a very, very interesting lady coming up in just a moment, and we're going to be talking about something that really kind of gave me a chill when I read the story, a doctor shortage in this country, so stay tuned for that. Also want to remind you about our dear friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, the manager, his family, and his staff, serving you and your family in a real serious time of need when there's the passing of a loved one. And at Hanson Mortuary, they always treat you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They really care, and they will help you. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. I've been looking forward to this conversation with this lady for quite some time. She is the president and CEO of Pacific Research Institute. Sally Pipes, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning to you, and I'm very well, thank you.
You know, Sally, give us a little background about you, who you are, what you do, that type of thing, before we get into our story for this morning.
Definitely. Well, I'm Sally Pipes. I'm President, CEO, and Thomas W. Smith Fellow in Healthcare Studies at the Pacific Research Institute. I've been heading up the Institute for 27 years on October 1st. But I'm originally Canadian. I came from Canada in 1991, where I'd worked as the Assistant Director at Canada's Fraser Institute, and where we started a publication in the late 80s called Waiting Your Turn, A Guide to Waiting Lists. And so we know, because the government had fully taken over the healthcare system, Medicare for All, single payer, in 1984, and we began to see that there were waiting times growing. And so I'm very familiar with the whole concept of single payer that is being pushed in this country very hard by Senator Bernie Sanders and Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and a number of others. So I've been very involved in this as my research project for, I don't know, the past 35 years. So, and PRI is a think tank. We're a free market think tank interested in personal responsibility and promoting market-based ideas.
Sally, I have said, and I certainly hope you're not offended if I call you by your first name, Sally. I have been very worried, and I mean this. I've had many, many programs on this issue with Obamacare and the cutbacks on care and doctor shortages, nursing shortages. We've been talking about this for a long time, but you absolutely nailed it in your article that was called Doctor Shortage Will Only Worsen Under Single Payer. You hit the nail right on the head, and boy, if the Democrats get their way and the liberals get their way to go to a single payer coverage, we are literally going to be standing in line. Hopefully we won't die first.
Well, exactly. So under Obamacare, which became law on March 23rd, 2010, we've seen an increasing number of doctors retiring early from being doctors, and some of them, of course, going into other fields. But one of the main issues for doctors taking early retirement has been the electronic health records. My husband's own doctor, who was also a PhD in chemistry, in March of this year, sent out a letter to all of his patients saying he just couldn't take it anymore. The mandates, the regulations, the paperwork, and electronic health records have caused him to retire early from medicine. And the American Association of Medical Colleges just came out with their latest analysis of the number of doctors practicing medicine. And they showed in this study that by 2030, there will be a shortage of 121,000 doctors. This is up 16% from a year ago, and I think we're seeing that many more doctors are now thinking of retiring, not only because of electronic health records, but because of the Bernie Sanders, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, all pushing for Medicare for All. Sanders has a bill, which, of course, he never talks about what it'll cost or how it will be paid for, but one of the interesting things in there is that doctors would be paid, their rates of pay would be tied to Medicare rates, which, of course, are 40% below what doctors get for treating private patients. So all of these things are adding together to push doctors, to retire early or to work fewer hours. And I think the more frightening point is that medicine has always attracted the best and the brightest students. Well, if students think they're going to be union members, they're going to be employees of the government, the best and brightest are not going to go into medicine, and that's very frightening for all of us here in America.
Sally, when you talk about the electronic health records, I would imagine that the record keeping after the patient has walked out the door is absolutely enormous to take care of all the, we said this, we did this, we're going to administer this, we prescribed this. How in the world can a doctor sit there day after day and have to devote, I would say, probably 60% of his time during the working day just taking care of health records? I mean, this doesn't make sense to me.
Well, no, and it's very expensive, and a lot of doctors who are 50 and above haven't been trained on computers and all the gadgets that we have, and so they're finding that it's difficult. They're having to stay several hours after work to complete the files, and not only that, as a patient, So there's been many criticisms of electronic health records and doctors, because when you go to the doctor for your checkup, the doctor is not looking at you for advice and to see how you're reacting to what he's saying. The doctor is looking at his laptop, just taking notes, and he's really concerned about his laptop, not about you and your medical condition. And a lot of times, doctors diagnose something by seeing how a patient behaves, how they look, and things like that. So this is really, it caused many patients to be very upset with their doctors, but doctors are complying with Obamacare.
Sally, I'm one of these people that I guess I'm kind of a redneck, to the extent that when somebody tells me I have to do something, I get my dander up and I say, no, I'll sit and analyze it, but you're not going to tell me. You can ask me. Why hasn't the medical profession in general stood up and said, enough of this garbage, enough? You're going to destroy the best healthcare system in the world if you keep pushing us towards single payer. Why aren't they, the medical profession, be it doctors, nurses, etc., hospital staffs, why aren't they speaking out louder against what's going on?
Well, I think one of the things is that if you go, like I do, I go to university medical schools and I do debates, and I would say 95% of the teaching professors, doctors, are all doctors who are employed by the university. They're all fans of single payer. So medical students come out and they're actually thinking, well, I support single payer. I only want, single payer means there's only one payer. It's the government. There's no private health insurance. All private health insurance is banned. But they come out with that kind of a mentality because that's how they've been told. And it's interesting, at the latest meeting of the American Medical Association, which really only covers about a maximum of 20% of medical doctors in this country, there's a terrific organization called Docs for Patient Care, which is really about empowering doctors and patients and not the government. But at their latest meeting at the AMA, they gave credence to not only the Physicians for National Health Insurance is the group within the AMA that supports single payer, but now they've allowed the Students for National Health Insurance. So the students are, banding together within the AMA, pushing for something of which they have no idea, as Charles Blayhouse at Mercatus Center said in his analysis of Bernie's S-1804, his single-payer bill that came out last September. He costed it out at $32.6 trillion over 10 years.
Oh, my.
And that's after even assuming a few, administrative cuts, which I don't even think would be possible. So that's $3.2 trillion a year. And he said if you doubled all corporate income taxes and personal income taxes, it wouldn't cover the cost of Bernie's plan. So we as Americans would face huge tax increases. And in fact, the average Canadian family pays hidden taxes of $13,000 a year for a healthcare system where the average wait from seeing a primary care doctor to getting treatment by a specialist is 21.2 weeks last year. That's over 5 months. Care will be rationed because global budgets will be set by government and have to cut back.
Right.
So these things, it's very distressing because people like Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who won that, upset the 10-term Democrat in the 14th district in New York, they never talk about what it costs or how it will be paid for. They say it's a generational investment. Sanders says on CNN, Medicare for all time has come. But this type of system will be disastrous, just like it is in Canada and in the UK, when you read every day in the paper about the long waits, the denied care.
I was reading your article and I highlighted quite a few of the remarks in there that I wanted to talk about here this morning. But before I get to that, I will make a statement I'd like you to respond to. I personally have had much more than average time spent in hospitals and with doctors in my life. I've had a lot of serious accidents. And I really don't care how much the doctor earns. I don't care if he makes $12 million a year, as long as I get the best of care, my wife gets the best of care. I don't care how much they make. But by trying to remove the capitalistic feeling out of medicine and replace it with socialism, I think we're going to see a devastation, like you said in your article, of much fewer people getting involved in the medical profession. And also there's going to be a depletion in research that can stop some of these heinous diseases of cancer, etc. I think the Bernie Sanders and the Ocasio-Cortez people are absolutely evil for what they're trying to do to our healthcare system in this country.
Well, I absolutely agree 100%, and that was, in my article. I mean, everybody. My mom used to say, "I hope you're not becoming an impatient American." Americans are impatient. They don't want to be told they have to wait 5 months to get an MRI or a colonoscopy if they think they have colon cancer. And what these people are talking about is, the fact that government would be controlling the money going into healthcare. Doctors' salaries would be lower. The best and brightest wouldn't go into medicine, as I said earlier. And people will, when care is rationed, it's a problem, and Americans would stand up. But once you get one of these systems, as we see in Canada and in the UK, it's very, very hard to get rid of them. And so, we have to stop this from becoming a reality. And on the research and development side, all of the research and development into new treatments, new pharmaceuticals, biologics, medical devices, that isn't done in countries that have single payer, like Canada is the only developed country that has a true single payer. But if you look at France, Germany, England, universal coverage, they have two types of systems. None of the R&D is done in those countries. They all have price controls. There's no incentive. And so all of the great drugs that are out there in treatments, they're done in America. And if we destroy the healthcare system and the market for innovation, the whole world is going to decline in the type of access to the best treatments. And many times today, a drug can now supplant what used to be having to result in a surgery. As a professor at Columbia has said, for every $1 spent in new pharmaceuticals, they save $7.17 in hospital costs. So we want to keep that pipeline open for the best. And people do come here from all over the world. And in fact, 63,000 Canadians cross the border every year and pay out of pocket in the U.S. for treatments and procedures that they think the time on the waiting list is too harmful to their health.
Absolutely. You made one other statement, many great statements in your article, but the one that just absolutely stunned me, and I backed up and I looked at that, was some statistics from the National Health Service over in the United Kingdom, where general practitioners are often forced to see up to 70 patients a day. And I said, how in the world is that possible? Explain that a little bit, please.
Well, so in a government-run system where doctors' salaries are, tied to what government is willing to pay, in many cases, doctors have to see so many patients in order to make enough money to make it, viable. The average doctor in the UK earns about $125,000 a year, whereas the average GP or primary care doc here earns about $217,000. So in order to survive, they have to churn and see a lot of patients. And the other thing is that if you if you have this huge list of people, you want to take care of these people. That's what doctors are there for. But we're seeing so much doctor burnout in the UK, docs quitting. England, the National Health Service has announced that they're trying to solicit doctors moving into the UK from countries like Japan, Pakistan and India, international medical graduates, to fill the shortage of British doctors who are retiring from medicine. And so in Canada, in fact, one of my closest friends, he retired at age 40 from being a doctor. He was seeing 55 to 60 patients a day.
Oh my!
And he was burned out, and he felt that he couldn't give his patients the time that was needed. And because it's so-called free, a lot of people book doctor's appointments when they're lonely and things, so they take up a lot of space so doctors can't even see the patients that really need their help. So this is one of the serious outcomes of government being totally in charge of our healthcare system. And we don't have in this country, as you know, a total free market in healthcare. 50% of our healthcare is already in the hands of government through Medicare for our seniors, Medicaid for low-income people. the CHIP program for children, and the Veterans Administration, which is a single-payer system. And we've seen in the last few years all of the catastrophes for our vets who are on long waiting lists, ration care, no access to the latest treatments, and that is a single-payer, and our vets shouldn't be treated that way, but neither should the American people, and that's why we must not go to a single-payer Medicare for all system where all private coverage would be banned, as it is in Canada.
You know, Sally, I'm sorry I'm almost out of time, but I'm sitting here thinking that the left, without a respect for life, with the pro-abortion stance, and then also those on the left that believe that when people get to a certain age, they're expendable, kind of a hemlock society. This is absolutely insidious that they would try to promote and try to implement a single-payer insurance program to where basically if you're young or if you're elderly, just get out of the way and go die so we can make room for someone else. That's how cold and callous this sounds.
Well, exactly, and that's why it's just, as I say, it's so important that the American people be educated on this, because the mainstream media has bought in lock, stock, and barrel to Senator Sanders, to Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, to this woman, Ayanna Pressley, who also upset in Massachusetts, a 10-term member of the House, and she's running on single-payer. Andrew Gillum, who is running for governor in the state of Florida, he's part of the Medicare for All system. This group of the Democratic Socialists of America has become an extremely important part of the Democratic Party, very, very left-wing, but they're gaining a lot of power and strength, and it's very concerning.
Where are we? And look in your crystal ball and tell me this, Sally. But on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not that serious, 10 being look out, close the door, they're coming in. Where are we on a 1 to 10 scale for having this? I'm really concerned. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I would say about 9.
Oh, my.
Not only is it on the Senate side, where Bernie has 16 senators backing his plan, on the House side, 137 Democrats are supporting Medicare for All. There's a new Medicare for All caucus with about 70 members. This woman from Washington State, House member Pramila Jayapal, she has started the first Medicare for All PAC, where she's going to be supporting candidates who are running on this in the midterms, but a big push for 2020. I think the really big push is going to be one of the main issues in the 2020 presidential election. It's important in the midterms, but it's going to be a huge rallying cry in 2020.
Sally, I certainly hope you will come back on this program in the future. I'm going to save your name, number, and your article, and I absolutely am going to have you back in the near future. God bless you for this great piece, and thanks a lot for being on my program this morning.
Well, thank you so much. I look forward to discussing this again as we move forward.
I hope so. Sally Pipes, and she's the president and CEO of Pacific Research Institute, a very knowledgeable lady. Thank you very much. You know, we have said for a long time on this program that single payer is absolutely asinine and evil. Evil. I'm just going to say it the way it is. And for the left, like Bernie Sanders and that very unintelligent woman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to stand up and really, we've got to go to single payer, we've got to have this and everything else. They're just out there hurting you, your family, your grandpa, your grandma, your aunts and uncles, and the little ones. And the doctors are suffering. The medical professions in general are suffering because it doesn't work. 70 patients a day? 70 patients a day some of the doctors are expected to see over in the UK? There's no way in the world anybody can expect to get decent health care with a doctor that is completely burned out seeing 70 patients a day. I don't know what it's going to take for this country to wake up and get a swift kick in the posterior and put us back to normal. We're letting the abnormal, the subnormal, the below par people try to run this country. Bernie Sanders has no business spouting off and stating what he wants or doesn't want. Neither does that young woman that absolutely is so incompetent and uneducated, Cortez. These kinds of people shouldn't be doing anything except sitting home watching Oprah and eating bonbons. And yet they're trying to destroy the greatest healthcare system in the world ever and replace it with a killer single payer. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, it just gets me so upset what these people are trying to do. And they're doing it with the absolute look of evil on their face. Ramsey Heating and Electric, they're very proud to offer service you can trust, along with Lennox products that can help keep you comfortable and save you money. Don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases. All you need to do to find out more is call them at 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. Don't forget Ramsey's and Lennox products. Just another way to make you feel better. And Ramsey's, of course, serving you for well over 60 years. Really great people. And our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Holy moly, they've got everything. They got all the prices on furniture that have been special prices on furniture that have been cut. My goodness sakes, you can save a whole bunch of money. Window coverings, 40% off. Wow. They have got the greatest selection of recliners there. I know when I wanted to go in and get a new recliner here about 3-4 months ago, I had to go in and literally sit down, stand up, and try on a whole bunch of them. I mean try on, because there's some for real tall people, some for short people, some for real skinny people, and some for the rest of us. Well, you got to make sure your recliner fits and you're comfy, and they've got a great selection at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, with an excellent sales staff serving you at 459 Overland in Burley. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And give us a jingle. We'd like to hear what you think. This deal about single-payer insurance, we are going to be doing a lot more coverage on this as we do draw closer not only to the midterms, but also, like Sally Pipe said, it's going to become a big issue for the 2020 election. And I don't understand why. It's very simple and cut and dried that the left absolutely wants to cut any and all services to all of us. And what it would do with a single-payer insurance program is not only cut down what your available service and help to you might be, but it's going to destroy research. Absolutely kill and cripple research of some of the finest medical institutions and universities in this country. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I would really appreciate your calls, and I'm going to talk about a possible candidate for governor in the state of Idaho in just a minute, and why I think she should not be where she is. Don't forget, let's ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, my goodness, they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. Nick and Randy, the whole crew over there, and boy, they got the snowmobiles in there now. Oh, boy, they're ready for that angel dandruff. And they're ready to have you enjoy the great wintertime fun of snowmobiling. And along with that, they've got all the accessories, and you know they've got a wonderful service department to keep you running over there. And by the way, too, speaking of that, it's time to winterize your jet skis from this last summer, and call for an appointment today at Let's Ride. Yep, 436-4771. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Really, really nice people over there. Paulette Jordan, and I can't say this and beat around the bush, Paulette Jordan, Democratic nominee to run for governor for the state of Idaho, is not qualified. There. I don't know what kind of snake oil is being sold, but I'm just going to tell you that I don't believe she has the ability. I don't think she has the intelligence. And I certainly don't think she has the organizing skills to be not only a governor, but to hold any position of importance in politics. Yes, I'm prejudiced in my remarks. Yes, I do not want to see her, a Democrat, win the governor's chair. But when people have been quitting her campaign, and there have been things said that they, the people that have quit, are so embarrassed and ashamed that they were a part of her campaign, that should tell you something. It should tell all of us something. And I think that not only has she made light of the situation that these people have quit and left her campaign, but I think she has demeaned these people by not giving an honest appraisal as to what the problems were. And I don't think that this lady has tried to correct the situation. I don't think that she really understands the situation. And I don't think, in any way, shape, or form, she has a snowball's chance in the oven of trying to become the Idaho governor. What are your thoughts? Give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I have listened to her, I've read about her, and I've just absolutely come up with a nothing burger, that this woman is at all qualified to lead the state of Idaho. What are your thoughts? Come on, this is your turn to give me a call and let me know what you think. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And when you hear things about campaign managers and others on the staff leaving, and there's been charges of, there's been degradation and disparaging remarks and demeaning remarks made, that doesn't bode well for a young woman that wants to lead the state of Idaho, of which I don't think she can. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, this Paulette, the one thing that I want to just tell you what I think is that she should hang in there and continue to make a fool of herself, and that will be a lead pipe cinch for the Republican governor to get elected. And
well, I'm not calling for anyone, Keith, to make a fool of themselves, because she seems to...
done that.
No, you took the words right out of my mouth. She's already done that, and she's not responding to situations. She's not addressing issues. She's not being forthright with the media. She has denigrated certain members of the media, even though they have put forth, I think, a very honest appraisal of what she has done or not done as a gubernatorial candidate. And to be honest with you, everything I've read about her, everything I've heard, a lot of which is hearsay from one person to another, a lot of people do not like her. A lot of people do not trust her.
She does not have a platform except socialism, and that's not going to be accepted in the state of Idaho, I hope.
Well, no, wait a minute, Keith. In all fairness to the situation with your allegation about not having a platform, what do you mean? Spell it out exactly as to what you think she should have but doesn't.
Well, for one thing, I don't think she even knows what's going on in the state of Idaho. You know, education system, Proposition 1, or, you know, any of these things that are pertinent to her being able to do a good job as governor.
Well, okay, and
have the skills.
Oh, I agree with that. Now, yesterday, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, but you're a dear friend and you can handle it. Yesterday, you called while I was having the gentleman on talking about Proposition 1, of which I am going to support to the fullest degree. I want to see a yes on Proposition 1 because I think it's going to restore a lot of integrity and economic value to the horse industry here in the state of Idaho. And you had questions, very good questions, that I hope we answered so that you also will become a yes vote on Proposition 1.
Well, you've got me leaning that way because of the things I've learned. But the average person will not know these things because they don't pay that close of attention.
And that's wrong.
In the past, these propositions that have come up, because of my vision, I don't read, but even before that, I don't want to use that as an excuse. It was unimportant to me.
You asked some very valid questions yesterday, Keith. You asked some very valid questions that I thought were excellent questions to the gentleman, Todd Dvorak, that we had on the air yesterday. I hope we answered those questions because that's what needs to happen. People need to be aware election time as to what Prop 1 and Prop 2 are, what they can do, what they won't do, etc. But going back to Paulette Jordan, you bring another interesting point. She has not addressed those issues to let people know where she stands and why.
I'd like to have somebody just ask her. Say, what do you think about Proposition 1 opposed to 2? And she goes, well, I don't know. I'll have to check into that.
Well, and you know what you're saying right there is something that I'm feeling and have felt for a long time about her. She's a lot of smoke and mirrors coming into the gubernatorial race. I don't think, and I said this at the get-go, she was not qualified. I don't think that she has leadership skills to run the state. And then when people started dropping out of her campaign because they felt demeaned or degraded, etc., and embarrassed to be a part of her campaign, that should tell you something, Keith.
Yes, it does. But back to this Proposition 1, I've analyzed that and everything since I talked to you last, and there's two things. Some people are just going to say no form of gambling. They, don't confuse me with the facts because my mind's made up.
Yeah, well, then take it away from the Indian tribes also then.
Yeah, and then the other one is horses. Some people don't have an opinion of horses. Some people don't like horses.
Well, that has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it. We're talking about a stimulus economically that would help one of the large agricultural sectors of our state and the United States. Whether you like the horse industry or not, that's really irrelevant. As long as the money's coming in and it's stimulating the economy. Every dollar spent means about $3 or $4 or $5 turned over in the economy. That benefits everybody, even if you don't like horses.
Well, no, I didn't say that I didn't like horses.
No,
I just said some people would have that opinion.
I understand.
I think that era is over with. But I enjoy a beautiful horse, and there's one thing that it just makes me get fuzzy all over when I see a beautiful horse galloping with a beautiful background and everything. I don't think there's anything finer than that.
I got to run and do the weather, but I'll just say this quickly. It's not just about horses. It's about what other contributions are made to the economy because of the horse industry, whether it's trailer sales, whether it's insurance, whether it's the feed, whether it's the tack. The list goes on and on, Keith. It's not just watching a beautiful horse gallop over the horizon. I got to run. Appreciate your comments as always. Thank you.
And beaten hard.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much.
Bye.
Right now, let's go to the weather, and yours truly running a little bit late here this morning, and I want to mention that Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. 50 years, that's a long time. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, the absolute best in tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, and the list list goes on and on. 2 locations to serve you, one in Burley, one in Rupert. You get a hold of the best today. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's a little bit frosty this morning, but that is going to burn off, and we're going to have some sunny skies for today. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Areas of frost this morning. Otherwise, like I said, sunny skies, slightly breezy, winds out of the east-northeast, about 5 miles an hour. Switching to the north by this afternoon, expecting a high of 67 tonight. Going to be frosty again, especially in those early morning hours. Clear skies with a low of 38. By tomorrow afternoon, sunny skies, high of 73, expecting an overnight low of 42 under clear skies for Wednesday night. By Thursday, sunny and 78, and as we hit Friday, sunny and 77. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you, Gina. Brought to everybody by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Interested in some of what happened with the new tax rates that have changed, or new deductions, or whatever happened to the old ones? You better check with the professionals. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Don't forget, too, another great business we wanted to... Well, we'll talk about them in just a little bit. How's that? We're going to go to the phone line right now, and I get a chance to visit with a friend. And I'll tell you what, he knows implements. He knows John Deere, and he is the manager of Stoats Equipment Company at 119 Overland in Burley, your John Deere dealer. Good morning, Vic. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well.
Can you believe this weather we're having?
You know, it's a beautiful weather. I'm so lucky and blessed to be here. In Arizona, we'd still be wearing ice cubes on our heads and trying to find a cool spot.
You know, I was going to ask you, harvest time, I would imagine that this time of the year is one of the busiest for you and all of your great people that work at Stoats Equipment. Give us kind of a thumbnail sketch, a day in the life of Vic at Stoats Equipment Company.
Well, you know, yes, it is a busy time with harvest, and everybody's working hard, and our farmers, you know, I just don't think they get enough credit, so I'm going to praise them for a minute, because typically you're working on a wing and a prayer, and you're planning, and you're hoping, and you're praying that everything's going to come up. Your yields are going to be good, your quality's going to be good, and then here comes crunch time, and I'm telling you, it's basically hard work all the way till the 1st of November, so I try to give them as much support as we can, make their job as easy as possible, and we're open. You know, we're open early. We're staying on. You know, we're staying open late, and we're available 24 hours a day to help them, because this is a crunch time for them. And our guys work very hard. But you know what? Farmers, ranchers, and dairymen. I don't think there's anybody in any other occupation works as hard as they do.
You know, you said on a program a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of piqued my interest a little bit. We were talking about the innovative changes in farm equipment and the John Deere line, etc. I would like to be at a meeting sometime where you get some of the older statesmen of agriculture that have done things a certain way for years and years and years. I'd like to be in that room when you start showing them all the innovative changes in farm equipment. I'll bet you their eyes just about pop out of their heads.
Well, yeah, you know, it's like they said, in a fly on the wall. And if you look at what our grandparents did and what they had to work with, I always said they were a lot tougher than we were. They worked really hard to basically get this land ready, not only here in Idaho, but all the farms across the nation. We're talking Clydesdales are pulling tree trunks out and moving rocks, and up here, Lord knows we have a lot of rocks. And they had a rough life, and with equipment is better. It's more innovative. It's more technology, but it still comes down to just true grit and determination. And, you know, there's a lot of technology that we share. In November, we do our John Deere Days, and we invite a lot of our farmers and ranchers and dairymen for two things. One, first off, thank them for their business, but also to go over all the new innovation that John Deere has. And the biggest thing is, you know, and the hardest question is to ask everybody, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And you better be ready, because you're going to get it on the chin, because farmers, dairymen, and ranchers are very honest, and they have high expectations, and we have to live up to that.
Well, I can tell you a lot of the right, and, you know, naturally, Stoats Equipment Company on our program as a paid advertiser, etc., but I am also a consumer. I just recently bought a brand new tractor from you and Stoats Equipment Company, and wow, I mean, that is one of the greatest innovative tractors, the compact tractor. tractors, and you can do so much with it, and it just made my life, like your tagline says, made my life a lot easier.
Well, and it does, and our whole concept here is we're trying to give you tools, and you know a tool is only good if you use it and if you know how to use it, and it's the right tool. So our whole thing is that we want to put the right tool in your toolbox, and we want something that's going to work for you, and it's going to make your life easier, going to make your job easier and more efficient, and ultimately it's going to make your life happier, because if you're enjoying driving that piece of equipment, you know, I can only imagine you're probably out there every day even when you don't need to be, just because you enjoy operating. It's simple, it's easy, and you like the finished result, which is a great arena.
It is, and you know, we've been moving a lot of dirt lately, doing a lot of preparation for the fall, and that tractor has absolutely come in so handy. And the size is just right for anyone that has a small horse operation, a small little, what you might say, kind of a weekend farm type operation. I mean, it's absolutely perfect.
Well, I have one just like yours too, Zeb. I have a 3025E, and the nice thing about the 3025E is that, like I said, it's compact. It still has the power to do what you want to do. It's a little workhorse. It really is like the engine that could, and it just chug-a-lugs and gets things done. You have to take smaller bites, but that's okay. That's how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, and but it will get things done for you, and it's only as good as the person operating it, and so you have to be willing to learn and guide that tool, and like I said, it's almost a song and a dance, because as you start being creative with that, you're going to find more and more things you can do with it, and that's what we want. We want to be here to help you guys and make sure you have the right tool. That's our whole concept.
Vic, you touched on this just a few moments ago, but I know that Stokes Equipment is so heavily involved in the community and doing so many things for the local folks. Have you got kind of a calendar you'd like to talk about a little bit about some of the upcoming events that people should be aware of what's going to happen at Stokes Equipment?
Sure. We've learned that November's typically a time when the customers are pretty much done with the harvest, hopefully, and we're here to help them celebrate. So we have our John Deere Days the whole month of November, and what that means to our customers that they'll find extra savings, there'll be extra additional information and help, there'll be discounts and all kinds of variety of different offers that we have here at our store here in Burley. It also means that we're coming into our holiday season, Thanksgiving, and most of all Christmas, and in Christmas on December the 8th, we're going to have our third Stokes Toy Drive since we've been here. And then we collect all of the toys and gifts that's so generously given by our communities and donate right here to the Christmas Council. So it's a time of celebration. It's a time to give. And it's a time, most of all, to help others and show them that we do appreciate them in this community. So, yeah, we are working hard to help our customers and help our community grow. And our whole thing is that we need to support each other and make this a strong, united community.
You know, one last thing I'd like to talk about this morning quickly is that we are at a very busy time right now in the Magic Valley with harvest. And what about the hours over there at Stokes Equipment? And what about phone numbers in case they need help after hours? Give us that information, please.
Okay, so all of the information is on our website, first off, so it's www.stokesequipment.com. We're actually open from 7:30 to 5 o'clock daily, from Monday through Friday. On Saturday, we're open from 8 to 12. That's just when the doors are open, but we're actually available 24 hours a day. You can call parts or service and get a hold of somebody, and I only live 3 miles from the store. If you forgot that last-minute Yeti cooler cup or that Traeger smoker for a gift, give me a call. One of us guys will come down and get you opened up and take care of you. Like this is kind of a mom and pop place. That's why we want it to be. We're not a chain. Again, we're here to help, and so please go online and visit it, and you can find all the information to find a little bit about how we started in 1947. And I want anybody that can call me up, the first person to call me up and tell me the date of when we started Stokes Equipment, and the original name was Arizona Machinery, they'll get a Stokes jacket for free.
There you go. And I can tell you personally, folks, they do make your life easier. They help me a bunch. Stokes Equipment Company, my dear friend Vic, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley. God bless you, man. Thanks for filling in this morning and helping us out.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, take care. Stokes Equipment Company with the Stokes Ag Minutes this morning. Want to also remind you about some other really good people over there at Highway 24 in Rupert, right there on the curve going into Rupert, and that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more, because they're dedicated and responsive to your needs. All you need to do is just call, make an appointment. They will help you. The number 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert. Please get a hold of those good folks today. Let's see what else have we got cooking here. I wanted to remind you that coming up next hour we have... It's a segment that is so popular, and I had no idea. When I started this idea, I don't know how many years ago, with Dr. History to come on the program and have kind of a little historical review, if you will, I had no idea it would grow this big. We've got Dr. History coming up at 10:06. Then we've got Pastor Paula White at 10:30, and she's a spiritual advisor to President Donald Trump, and she's also the author of the book called Dare to Dream, Understand God's Design for Your Life, and I'm looking forward to that. So, all that being said, I was going to tell you, too, I'm leaning over here trying to get this without knocking it on the floor. The annual Bounty of Harvest Dinner and Bazaar, sponsored by the Rupert United Methodist Women, will be held on this Friday, September 28th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the church at 605 H Street. Great dinner. Whew, is it going to be good? And then also, if you want a takeout meal to go back home and watch TV or whatever, call them at 436-3354. Going to be a lot of fun. The annual Bounty of Harvest Dinner and Bazaar at the Rupert United Methodist Church in Rupert. Got to run. We'll be back in about 7 minutes with Dr. History. You stay tuned. Oh, there's the music. We were having a very good conversation, and the music spoiled it. Dr. History and I were visiting a moment ago. Don't forget, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Great big fall tire sale going on right now. And some of our great advertisers, like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We're going to have Dr. History in just a moment. Don't forget our dear friends at Dino's Septic Service. Hello, Dino's. You know, they do the job that you and I don't want to do. They do the job that Dr. History and I don't want to do. Yes, sirree, I'll tell you what, septic tanks pumped and backhoe services, mainline irrigation installation and repair, sewer and sink drain lines clean. And by the way, you better get the pumping of those tanks now before the ground freezes. You call Dino's Septic Service. Numbers 436-6526. In Burley, 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service with that big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service, you get a hold of them today. Also, I want to remind you, too, on Thursdays we have a segment on our program called Cassia County School Days, brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, with all the new fall clothes and all the Cherokee scrubs, everything for the family, right there at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, and they bring you School Days in Cassia County on Thursdays at 10:10. Now, without further ado, my dear friend, here he is, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing today?
I am good, my dear friend.
Good. Beautiful day out there. It's nice. Harvest is going on.
Can you believe this weather?
Oh, it's great for the farmers.
I did a little research, and I think we have not had rain, though, since June. I believe it was like the 20th or something.
Yeah, it's dry, but, it's great for the farmers. They're not having to fight mud or anything like that.
Yeah, but you know what? We do need some rain.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Yep.
And we also need Dr. History.
And that's where we're headed.
Oh.
We're going to go to Alaska. We're going north to Alaska.
You keep taking me up there with, what was the guy north to Alaska?
Johnny Horton.
Johnny Horton.
Yeah. I was going to get the words to that song, but I didn't get it.
There you go.
Good old Johnny Horton.
You should bring it by and we'll play it while you're doing
that's a good. I love old Johnny Horton. So 1896. Okay, that's when gold was found.
And that was also, by the way, congratulations, your birthday.
Yeah, isn't that ironic? Gold was found in the Klondike region of Canada's Yukon Territory. Now, the population of that area reached actually 30,000 in that whole area at the peak of the gold rush.
In the Klondike?
Yeah.
Really?
And, of course, it was mostly the prospectors. And some realized how difficult this was going to be to the gold fields, and they chose to stay behind. And they actually did the best. They supplied goods and services to the miners.
What was the draw to go up there in the first place? Just gold. I know, but the gold, but I mean the cold and the unknown and everything.
Just gold.
Wow.
Going after gold.
Okay.
But within weeks, stores, saloons, offices lined the muddy streets of a town called Skagway, and that's kind of where we're going to go.
Yeah.
And the population was estimated at 8,000 residents during the spring of 1898.
That's pretty big.
And approximately 1,000 prospective miners passing through town every week, headed for the gold field.
And they needed goods and services.
Yeah. So by June 1898, with a population between 8 and 10,000, Skagway was the largest city in Alaska. Now, because of the sudden influx of visitors to Skagway, some of the town residents, like I said, started offering services to help them in their journey, often at high rates for for the goods. And
did most of the people that left, like here or other parts of the United States, did they go with their own gear, or did they all try to buy it up there?
Well, I think both. Both. So, but between 1897 and 1898, Skagway was a lawless town, as described by one member of the Northwest Mounted Police as, quote, little better than hell on earth. There were fights. There was liquor all over the place, Skagway streets. There was a con man by the name of Soapy Smith who had kind of risen to power, and Smith was a kind of a sophisticated swindler who liked to think of himself as kind and generous, and he was actually gracious to some, giving money to widows and stopping people from getting hung. But during all this, he was operating a ring of thieves who swindled prospectors with cards, dice, and the shell game. Now get this, Zeb, he had a telegraph office. He charged $5 to send a message anywhere in the world, and the little shack that he used had a wire that went out through the forest for maybe half a mile, and that's where it ended. So
you don't say.
And so there was no telegraph going to the States.
Now, why didn't, when he was found out, why didn't the locals...
he ended badly. I'll just say that. We're not going to go... Actually, I told his story a while back.
I remember that. Yeah. He didn't get shot, though, did he?
I can't remember exactly. But he ended up in a bad way. Dead.
Well, that is a bad way.
That is a bad way. Well, the prospector's journey began for a lot of them when they climbed the mountains over the White Pass above Skagway and onward across the Canada-U.S. border to a lake called Bennett Lake, or maybe one of its others, and there they would build barges and float down the Yukon River to get to Dawson City, where the gold fields are.
And this is in 1896?
Yeah, 1898. Yeah.
1898.
97, 98. Okay. Now, the officials in Canada began requiring that each prospector entering Canada on the north side of the White Pass bring with him 1 ton, 2,000 pounds, and for it's 909 kilograms of supplies, but 2,000 pounds. Because they made them do this to ensure that they didn't starve during the winter, and so this placed a big burden on these prospectors trying to get over to the Klondike.
Each person?
Each person, 2,000 pounds. And here's what one Klondiker said, quote, "It was a superhuman effort to transport those thousands of pounds up that narrow, slippery, rocky trail of the pass through boulder-strewn canyons across swampy bottomlands." Now, from Skagway, and I'm going to tell you, folks, if you ever get to Skagway, there's a little museum, and you can go inside there, and they have a display showing what 2,000 pounds of gear would look like.
Well, just envision packing a ton of hay.
Oh, yeah. And you've got to do this just a little bit at a time. So, but the 26-mile trail over Chilkoot Pass was steep. It was hazardous. Most of the stampeders who gave up did so trying to cross the mountains. They just got to where they said, "I'm done." But in the winter, these stampeders struggled in blizzards, snow, cold temperatures, avalanches. There was actually an avalanche that took out a bunch of them. The trail went up about 1,000 feet in the final half mile, and stampeders climbed what they called the Golden Staircase. And I've got a picture I'll show you here in a minute, Zeb.
Have they ever done a movie on that?
Not that I know of. But it was a Golden Staircase, 1,500 steps cut in the snow and ice, and they had a guide rope, and stampeders would stack their outfits when they got up the top, then they'd go back down, get some more, come back up, and there was a man that charged a toll for going up the Golden Staircase. And if you stepped out of line to rest, it might be an hour or 2 hours before you could get back in line.
Okay, but what about your goods down at the bottom of the hill?
Okay, we're going to get to that.
Oh.
So to move one outfit over the pass, the stampeders packed and cached their goods up to 40 times and hiked up to 1,000 miles. The terrain on the last 4 miles of the trail was too rough for pack animals, and there was discarded supplies littered the trail as they just got rid of the stuff they really didn't need.
Okay, now I want to get this straight now. They'd go so far up.
Right.
And then they drop their goods off.
Then go back and get some more.
And then go back and get some more.
Bring it up, then go back and get some more. Just piggyback it, up and back, up and back.
How in the world did one man take care of all that?
They didn't. That's where things got a little hairy. Okay, the best thing you could do is partner up with, say, 4 or 5 guys, because if you didn't, when you got back to your gear, one end or the other, it might be gone.
Gone.
Yeah. It may be stolen. And that's kind of lead us into our story today. All right. Now,
the plot thickens.
It does. But, you know, they say that no one can really describe the hardships endured by these early gold rushers that traveled this Chilkoot Pass. Now, there were some pack animals, but they basically rode them into the ground till they were gone. They were dead.
Didn't you tell me at one time we were talking about the Klondike and everything that there were, I hate to sound gruesome, but literally bodies upon bodies of dead horses and mules and everything?
And some actually, they think even actually committed suicide by stepping off the trail and just tumbling down to the bottom of the hill.
Wow.
So, okay, this is a story about murder on the Chilkoot.
Oh.
All right? So, anyone who ever carried as much as 1 pound over the Chilkoot Pass Trail on the way to the Klondike during the gold rush of 1897-98, they were pretty touchy about their supplies. And if those supplies happened to be stolen after a prospector had carried them so far, bad news for the thief if he was caught. Okay? Now, there's a man named Hansen, and he was flogged on Chilkoot Pass, and his partner, Wellington, committed suicide. Now, let me keep going here. You're going to have to decide if you really committed suicide. Or was he gunned down? So here's what happened. These 2 guys were nabbed in February 1898 by a group of miners and charged with the theft from a cache along the trail. Both men were transients on the trail with little to identify them other than their names. There was a man called Dean who was also arrested, but Wellington and Hansen were the ones that were going to go on trial here. All right? Wellington and Hansen.
Wellington and Hansen.
So the trial was really just a meeting of a group of men selected to hear the evidence and make the final sentence. Time was of the essence, and during the gold rush, and miners weren't prone to hang around over legal technicalities. They just wanted to get things over and done. They didn't hang around. Well, Wellington's turn came up after, and he wasn't so lucky. When he saw... Now, picture this, Zeb. This is a little weird. When he saw that he would be found guilty, he bolted from the miners and ran down the Chilkoot Trail. So we weren't in a building. We weren't in a
they were outside.
Yeah, they were outside having this trial. So he
right on the trail.
Yeah. So he jumped up and took off running down the trail. Well, the Skagway News printed what followed as they heard it. It was straightforward reporting. It said... but what was left unsaid points to the probability that the miners probably killed Wellington on the trail and covered it up with the story that he took off running. Okay, so let me keep going here. The miners said they were completely surprised by Wellington's dash for freedom and that for an instant not a shot was fired in his direction. Finally, someone recovered enough to fire a shot over his head. Wellington turned around, fired back at the miners, and they dropped down to the snow. They didn't want to get shot. So Wellington started to run again, and the miners reported that before he had gone many yards, he put his revolver to his head and killed himself. He dropped in his tracks, stone dead, according to the newspaper.
According to the newspaper.
Okay, so let's keep going here, Zeb.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to envision what this trail looked like.
Well, I'll show you a picture here in a minute. Okay, so now, what one leads you to wonder, if Wellington had been captured and given a trial, why was he allowed to keep his gun?
Yeah, it was
Number
the first
one.
question I had.
Okay. Now, or if he had a good start running down the trail, why did he suddenly turn around and shoot himself? I mean, he was getting away. He was running.
Yeah.
So it may have been, of course, because he was afraid of the punishment he was going to receive, or it might have been that Wellington never ran anywhere but was shot right on the spot by the miners.
You think?
That makes a little more sense, and more than likely in this case, they killed Wellington and did not want to get into an argument with the authorities over the legality, quote, I guess, of the matter. So events which happened later tend to substantiate this theory that they probably just shot him. You know, get it over with.
I hate to bother you, but this is so interesting to me. You said that they had to bring all this gear.
Right.
Okay. Now, with all the literally thousands of miners that were making this trek up this hillside, where did they store all the gear? Did they have
No, they just stacked it in a pile.
But they had to be stacking it on top of other people's equipment.
Well, they just had to find a spot somewhere off the trail.
Wow.
To stack it. So let me continue with this. Wellington is dead now.
Oh, yeah, he's gone to the great snowball in the sky.
So Hanson, the other guy, they were all set to hang him from one of the poles of the tramway. And when someone suggested it might be better just to flog the man, okay? So one miner said, this would set an example to other would-be thieves if we just whipped this guy.
Yeah.
So that's what they decided to do. They got a guy that was willing to, didn't hesitate to want to whip this guy, and they started beating this guy on the back. Welts on his back. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, blood, and it was bad. And what's interesting is Hanson, the guy being whipped, never said a word. And after 15 lashes had been given, a doctor checked his pulse and nodded that the whipping could continue. He was still alive.
Well,
so,
how many whips or welts was he supposed to get?
I don't know. At this point, after they got done, Hanson was untied. He was fed a hearty meal, but they had a placard made for him to carry, one on the front and one on the back. The one on his chest read, "I am a thief," and the other read, "Pass me along." Well, 2 guards were sent with Hanson for the walk out to Skagway. Surprisingly enough, the 2 guards were actually arrested by U.S. officials, and this was followed by orders for the men who had imposed the punishment to come to turn themselves in. Well, they're on their way to the goldfields. They're not going to turn around and go back to Skagway.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of the end of that story. But, you know, there's a poem that I love.
Whatever happened to Hanson, by the way?
I don't know. He just kind of disappeared.
Well, you know, being flogged like that, I mean, the infection and how did he, I mean, holy smokes, we're talking.
Yeah, he was in bad shape.
Yeah.
So, now, Zeb, have you ever heard the poem, The Cremation of Sam McGee?
No, it's not on my required reading list.
Well, it should be.
Okay.
It should. I read this years ago as a kid. And anyway.
It's called the what?
The Cremation of Sam McGee.
How long is it?
Not very long.
Okay.
We'll get it in.
Well, I can't wait.
We've got time.
Okay.
But let me just tell you, Zeb, I've turned into not a cold person. You know, I've been hunting in the mountains where the snow's up to the horse's belly and camping and sleeping out. And, you know, I thought it was great when I was younger, but nowadays, you know.
You and I are quite a bit the same. Okay. You know, looking south is always a brighter horizon.
Yes. Okay. Now, this is a poem written by a guy by the name of Robert W. Service. Are you ready for this?
I am, absolutely.
Okay. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. Ooh. The Northern Lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge. I cremated Sam McGee.
Uh-oh.
Now, Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he left his home in the South to roam round the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, but the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell, though he'd often say in his homely way that he'd sooner live in hell. On Christmas Day, we were mushing our way over the Dawson Trail. Talk if you're cold. Through the parka's fold it stabbed like a driven nail. If our eyes we'd closed, then the lashes froze till sometimes we couldn't see. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed and the stars o'erhead were dancing heel and toe, he turned to me and, "Cap," he says, "I'll cash in this trip, I guess, and if I do, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request." Well, he seemed so low that I couldn't say no. Then he says with a sort of a moan, "It's the cursed cold, and it's got right hold till I'm chilled clean through to the bone. Yet 'tain't being dead, it's my awful dread of the icy grave that pains. So I want you to swear that foul or fair, you'll cremate my last remains."
Oh, this is Sam talking.
Yeah. A pal's last need is a thing to heed, so I swore I would not fail, and we started on at the streak of dawn, but gosh, he looked awfully pale. He crouched on the sleigh, and he raved all day of his home in Tennessee, and before nightfall, a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. There wasn't a breath in that land of death, and I hurried, horror-driven, with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, "You may tax your brawn and brains, but you promised true, and it's up to you to cremate those last remains." Now a promise made is a debt unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. In the days to come, though my lips were dumb, in my heart how I cursed that load. In the long, long night by the lone firelight, while the huskies round in a ring howled out their woes to the homeless snows, oh gosh, I loathed the thing. And every day that quiet clay seemed to heavy and heavier grow, and on I went though the dogs were spent and the grub was getting low. The trail was bad, and I felt half mad, but I swore I would not give in. And I'd often sing in the grateful thing, and it hearkened with a grin, till I came to the marge of Lake Labarge, and a derelict there lay. It was jammed in the ice, but I saw in a trice it was called the Alice May. And I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum. "Then here," said I, with a sudden cry, "is my crematorium." Some planks
I love the way the words flow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Some planks I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coal I found that was lying around, and I heaped the fuel higher. The flames just soared, and the furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see. And I buried a hole in the glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. Then I made a hike, for I didn't like to hear him sizzle so.
Oh,
and the heavens... And the heavens scowled, and the huskies howled, and the wind began to blow.
Crispy critters!
Yeah. It was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheeks, and I don't know why. And the greasy smoke in the inky cloak went streaking down the sky. I do not know how long in the snow I wrestled with grisly fear, but the stars came out, and they danced about ere again I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, "I'll just take a peep inside. I guess he's cooked," and it's time I looked. Then the door I opened wide, and there sat Sam, looking cool and calm in the heart of the furnace roar. And he wore a smile, you could see a mile, and he said, "Please close that door." He says, "It's fine in here, but I greatly fear you'll let in the cold and storm. Since I left Plum Tree down in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm. There are strange things done in the midnight sun, but the men who moil for gold, the Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge, I cremated Sam McGee."
Oh, poor Sam McGee. You know, what I was thinking of during that poem, it reminded me of the portion of the movie Lonesome Dove where the colonel took back Gus back to Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he didn't have to cremate him because of the cold.
I always liked that poem.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe because it's gruesome and cold.
You spiteful old man, you. Hey, good story always. We have a quick caller, I guess, with a comment. Stand by. Caller, real fast. We got 1 minute, real fast.
There was a movie, a James Stewart movie, long time ago. It's called The Far Country. that shows the trail and all. And then, of course, John Wayne's north to Alaska, but not necessarily the trail. And over 3,000 horses died there, and they used goats, donkeys, dogs, even dehorned reindeer for pack animals.
You know what? Now that you mentioned that movie about James Stewart, I remember that. Thank you very much for your call. Have a great day. Thank you. She's right.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah, we did a story a while back about, I think we call it Dead Horse Pass or White Pass, and talked about the animals that were just driven and
There couldn't have been any forage or anything for them.
No, that was the problem. They couldn't feed them, really.
Oh, my
And they just ran them till they dropped dead.
Oh, my. Well, you did it again, Doc. What are we going to talk about next week? I'm sure you have it planned.
I do.
Are you going to be here next week?
Yes, I'll be here next week.
Okay.
Yep.
Very important day.
Yes, it is.
It is.
And I'll be there.
Okay.
I'll be here. Wherever I need to be, that's where I'll be.
All right, good. Dr. History. I had somebody that called the other night from, oh my goodness, was it Missouri? No, Indiana. And they listen.
Oh, is that right?
Every week. And they wanted to say hello to you.
Well, that's great. I appreciate comments from the listeners.
Yeah.
Anybody. That's great.
All right. Take care of yourself. Thank you. Dr. History every Tuesday right here on Zeb at the Ranch. I want to remind you quickly about Syringa Plaza. A lovely and affordable senior community, Burley, Idaho. Absolutely. Syringa Plaza serves low-income seniors who maintain an independent living status with or without assistance. And you know, for seniors, this is so nice and so handy for you with the special features like one-bedroom apartments with carpeting and safety features and kitchens with electric ranges and refrigerators, emergency call systems, ample community space. Why don't you please take it upon yourself and call them today for more information? Syringa Plaza, and they're located at 626 Elba Avenue in Burley. And the number, write it down, 677-4204. That number again, 677-4204. Syringa Plaza, serving you and seniors of Magic Valley. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studios. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you much for being with us on the last segment of our program for this morning. But before we get our guest on, we also want to remind you, Ramsey Heating and Electric along with Lennox, and they can offer products that can help keep you comfortable and maybe even save you money, too. Absolutely. Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases, and all you need to do to find out more is call them at 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. Proudly offering Lennox products, just another way to make you feel better at Ramsey Heating and Electric with over 60 years of service to you. Let's go to the phone line right now, and I really have been looking forward to visiting with this lady, and she is the personal minister and spiritual advisor to President Donald Trump and the author of a book that I really want to find out a lot more about, Dare to Dream, Understand God's Design for Your Life. And we say good morning to Pastor Paula White. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. Good morning, Zeb, and to everyone listening. I'm out here in California with my husband. He plays for Germany, and so we're touring right now, and I say we as if I'm out there.
Well, it's really my pleasure to have you on the program, and I want to know a lot more about your book, Dare to Dream, Understand God's Design for Your Life. Give us a thumbnail sketch about the book.
It was one of my favorite books that I've been able to write. I deal a lot with, first off, finding your identity, who God created you to be, and then not only discovering that, but finding out what is His purpose, His intention, His decree, His decision. How do I discover those things? How do I live an authentic life? It's a book that helps navigate people through finding their supreme reason for being, their why in life, and then also fulfilling that, and knowing that with God all things truly are possible. And it's been my own life story, as well as many other people, and kind of helping that person find that and being that hand that holds them through the process that I think answers some of those internal questions that all of us have. as to our why, what, even the things that we go through. How does God turn those around and use those for good, and how do we come out from the negative situation? So it is really that there's something greater, and if you're willing to go through that process and take the hand of God, I believe you can discover and live your best life.
You know, I really like that concept, and I like the way you explained that, because the dare to dream, that first part, those 3 words mean a lot to me, because I think people in general, sometimes they feel like my old professor in college said that we're drew a circle around a dot, and he said we'll run up to the circle, which would be a barrier, and that's our comfort zone, and then we'll run back to the middle because we don't want to leave our comfort zone. And with God, anything is possible, and you can dare to dream to better your life. And I think you'd agree with that.
I would agree 100%, Deb, and that's the key. I think, many people are afraid. They feel all change feels like loss. And so it's that loss of the familiar, that loss of, even if familiar or their situation is not the best situation, it becomes our familiar, our comfort zone. And yet God says, follow me. He takes our first father of faith, Abraham, and he says, get out of this country and away from his kinfolk and go to a land that I'll show you of. And he doesn't quite have the place, but he's left where he's known. And I often call that the hallway of nowhere between 2 somewheres, where you've left Egypt, you've left bondage, you've left what's familiar, but you're going to a promised land. And yet you don't know what it tastes like. You don't know what milk and honey, you don't know. And so often in the wilderness, that in-between place, we do get stuck, disoriented. And I help the reader really get through those phases of bringing true change and transformation into their life and fulfilling the plan and the will of God.
You know, let me ask you this, Pastor. I think, and this is my own personal opinion, this is what's lacking with the younger generation, the high school children, college students, the millennials. They don't seem to have any grasp that there is a future, that there is a way that they can better themselves if they'll just sit down and read and study the Word of God, and then also understand that God wants us to succeed. He wants us to do better. He wants better things for us, but we've got to put forth the effort. And I think that's what's lacking today with our younger generation. Do you agree or not?
I do. Statistics bear that out, Zeb, and it shows that, and I can understand as we grew up in a very different time in a very different way. I'm 52 years old, and never did we have all the voices and all the internet and the multitude of voices just yelling out their messages from Hollywood and media and government and education and in school and life has so drastically changed in just a few decades. But beneath all of those voices, as central as the earth at the surface is, the Word of God is truth. And there was a time, even when I was growing up, I remember in first, second, third grade, us going to school and saying the Pledge of Allegiance and praying. And though I didn't grow up in a Christian home, I had a radical experience when I was 18 years old. There were fundamentals, even in our nation, of faith. There were fundamentals in people's lives around us. While we see, though, there is a spark of hope I read from one of the latest research. I think it was either Barna or Pew Research. It's not right in front of me. It said there is a return by millennials to reading the Word of God, and it went to how many will read or hear more on a podcast than but I think it was 84% still want a hardcover Bible, and I was like, yes, because the only way we're going to find truth is to get in the Word of God, because His Word is the infallible Word of God that will ground us no matter what you've gone through, where you've been. And for my own life, as I said, I didn't grow up in church, so I often say that life had lied to me. I had taken on a false identity. I'd been formed wrongly. And when I really got in the Word of God, it began to show me who I am in Christ, who God created me to be, what I was capable of doing, what I was not. And so the Word of God became my truth, but also became my backdrop to every aspect of life. And what do I mean by that? if I said, God, what does a wife look like? What does a mother look like? What does a woman of God look like? What does a feminist look like? It's certainly not what Hollywood is screaming out. It is what the Word of God says about a godly woman. And so it begins to define every aspect for me in life.
You know, today, and I've got to get back to what's happening in our current times, I'm absolutely appalled as to the attack on Christians and Christianity, the absolute vicious statements that were made, like at the Emmy Awards, condemning Christianity and Christians. And now we're seeing this play out against a family, the Kavanaugh family, where Judge Kavanaugh trying to make that appointment on the Supreme Court, and the left and all the attacks on him and his family. Give us your thoughts about this.
It's unprecedented. When we look at his own letter that was signed to the Hill, and he went, and I believe he said that he spent more hours than all Supreme Court nominees in U.S. history combined, testifying and over. I mean, we just look at the allegations. Senator Feinstein sat on the first allegation for over a month. I mean, Hirano and several other Democrat colleagues have been sitting on the second. We know the White House stands firmly behind it. Judge Kavanaugh and all who were alleged to be present deny this claim intensely. I just finished watching the Fox interview again. I put out my own statement yesterday because it's heart-wrenching, and I see it with this, I see it with so many, but I said I'm sensitive to anyone who has ever been through sexual abuse and trauma as part of my own background, Zeb, and pray that they find the help and the healing to lead a stable life. But I said, nevertheless, these allegations leveled against Judge Kavanaugh 35 and 36 years ago certainly have a lot of suspicion, with significant gaps, little memory, no eyewitness, contradicting testimony as to whether Kavanaugh was even present, and uncharacteristic alleged behavior to his lifetime patterns and good reputation. I said it makes it difficult to not believe this is a smear campaign and tactic to delay the appointment of why most conservatives voted President Trump into office, and that is judiciary appointment.
Let me ask you...
I've never seen anything like this. We look back, we see this desperation on the Democratic side of this latest allegation. It comes at a time when all the people at the alleged high school house party incident have said that they have absolutely no recollection.
Right.
We saw on Friday close to 100 women who know Judge Kavanaugh that stood with I Stand with Brett press conference in D.C. voicing support. My heart really went out to his wife, Ashley, during the Fox interview, and his daughters, and what they are going through. And I just see an unprecedented smear campaign. I will say, while this is so important because it was the number one reason evangelicals voted President Trump into office, and they are the biggest constituency that we know put him in office, this is a direct attack on so many of our values and what we're doing. And the games that are being played are just absurd. I think Lindsey Graham tweeted out yesterday, and I'll quote his tweet, and let's get a word in there, but Lindsey Graham said, what we are witnessing is a total collapse of the traditional confirmation process for a Supreme Court nominee. It is being replaced by a game of delay, deception, and wholesale character assassination. And I could not agree more.
I absolutely agree with that. Now, let me ask you this question. As Christians, we are being criticized and vilified every day, and then we are taught to always turn the other cheek. Well, I've got to say this, Pastor Paula. I'm sick of turning the other cheek. I think it's about high time as Christians we went on the offense instead of being backed meekly into a corner and into subserviency. And I don't believe that anymore. I think that we've got to be on the offensive. We've got to talk and we've got to speak out, because sooner or later we're going to become a complete endangered species. Do you agree with that or not?
Absolutely, Zeb. And I mean, that is really an understanding of biblical values in Scripture. When we put in context to turn the other cheek, Jesus also said to take out a sword, and he said, I didn't come to make peace, but I came to be a disruptor, basically. And so when you put Scripture in context, you can never take one Scripture and use it for everything. If we remain silent, we have already saw so much ground that has been lost within our rights and for Christianity. I mean, I'm in D.C. often, obviously, with President Trump, the administration, and have the fortunate ability to see what's really going on the inside, to see every day work after work and victory after victory. I mean, we're talking about our Supreme Court justice right now. People don't often talk about the lower court appointees. There are almost 178 that I see left to us as a gift from the former administration. That's the 9th and 11th Circuit. What we have is Don McGahn and his wonderful, incredible legal team have over 100 of those vetted. Now, that affects our everyday life. Where you're living, can you serve soup and pray for someone? It's going to affect how you live in your states, in your counties, where you are, etc. On an everyday lifestyle. We saw what happened in Houston. I mean, we've just seen so much atrocious attack against the church. Denver, I could go on and on and on about different cases. But what those appointees do, what I've also witnessed is while over 100 of those have been vetted, it's the same delay tactics. It's the same games. We have about 30, I think it might be 38 in right now. It's close to that step. But we should have 100 in. Mm-hmm. And because they're vetted, they're ready, they're fully on the go, but they just will continue to do obstruction. And until Christians get involved and we use our voice, I've also watched the power of if people will sign a letter to their senators, go make a visit. I mean, it affects everything. We've seen it with immigration. I like to see what we did with the Faith Initiative and Opportunity when he signed that on the National Day of Prayers. The Faith Initiative and Opportunity was brought back to the White House. Of course, the Faith Office had expired in HHS. He let that expire. He created an initiative and opportunity that every, not only department, but every federal agent would have a voice that represents the faith base. He also created extreme things for that work with the DOG and, with, of course, sessions for any injustices for our religious liberties, etc. And so what we're doing just on a daily basis, I mean, working with prison reform, working with the heart of people, but if we do not stand up and speak up, we will just watch not only our rights be taken away, but only God knows what our nation could become if Christians don't take the rightful position.
Absolutely. I've got time for one more question, and I would be amiss if I didn't ask this. But you, knowing President Donald Trump and praying with him, being with him as a spiritual advisor, what would you like my audience and others to know that you know now about President Trump?
That would probably take us hours, if not days, because literally I would like the people to know the man that I've been for 18 years. And I think you can look at his children, and people always say point to the fruit and the evidence of who he is, and look at his children, look at his policy, look at the decisions that he makes. And they are so much in alignment with our biblical values and the things that most Christians stand for. I think it's easy to get caught up in the rhetoric and hear a very liberal media and what he would tag along as fake news, and be confused if you aren't well-grounded. Be well-grounded. Be not deceived by the God of this world. I've had an 18-year relationship not only with President Trump, but with his family, with Melania, Ivanka, Jared, Eric, Laura, Don Jr., people who've worked for the Trump organization, I mean, on, and can attest to the character. And when people want to point out one flaw or one thing that's wrong, I remind them to look at the grace that God has given them. It's a man that was raised in church. He's a very, very strong Christian praying mother. And is he a fighter? Absolutely. And I think our country needs a courageous fighter. Robert Jeffress will often say, Pastor Jeffress will often say, we were not looking for a Sunday school teacher or a pastor as president. We were looking at someone who would stay true to their word and to what they had promised. And I came out early on saying, promise made, promise kept. Please pray for them. We know the power of prayer. I've never seen a family go through what they go through. We're living in unprecedented times, and I believe that he's a fighter for our faith, and we need to be a fighter for our faith as well, and honor the scriptures and continue to pray for. And if God speaks to you, get involved in it.
Absolutely. Pastor Paula White, and of course she is the author of the book Dare to Dream, Understand God's Design for Your Life, and she is also the personal minister and spiritual advisor to President Trump. Paula, thank you, and I mean that, and I hope you'll come back in the future. I found the conversation very uplifting. Thank you very much for all of your input this morning.
Thank you, Zeb. It's my pleasure, and be blessed.
All right. Thank you so much. God bless you. Very, very nice lady right there, Pastor Paula White, and as I said, spiritual advisor to President Donald Trump, and an excellent book called Dare to Dream, Understand God's Design for Your Life. Thank you, and we'll have her back in the future, too. Okay, now we've got to get a weather forecast on here. I'm always playing catch-up sometimes in the morning. Holy moly. Scarrows Meats, Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Delicious meats from Scarrows Meats. Now, you can go to their website and find out all that they have for you and your family, scarrowsmeats.com, or give them a call, 324-7657. And, you know, with the weather forecast that we've had the last couple of days and going through now this next weekend, you can still do a whole bunch of barbecuing. Marinated pork ribs and tri-tips and all the beef, pork, and the chicken. Everything from Scarrows Meats. Absolutely delicious. Right now, let's find out more about the weather. Here's Gina.
It's a little bit frosty this morning, but that is going to burn off, and we're going to have some sunny skies for today. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Areas of frost this morning. Otherwise, like I said, sunny skies, slightly breezy, winds out of the east-northeast, about 5 miles an hour, switching to the north by this afternoon, expecting a high of 67 tonight. Going to be frosty again, especially in those early morning hours. Clear skies with a low of 38. By tomorrow afternoon, sunny skies, high of 73, expecting an overnight low of 42 under clear skies for Wednesday night. By Thursday, sunny and 78, and as we hit Friday, sunny and 77. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow, thank you, Gina. What a beautiful forecast. It's a beautiful day out there. Don't forget Scarrows Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657 for Don Scarrow and the crew, and they are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time at Scarrows Meats. Wow, we've got time for another call. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And we'd like to hear from you. So give me a jingle on the landline in the time remaining here this morning, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about on the air. Let me see, what else have I got here? Oh, I was watching television last night, and really kind of scary and spooky, and it falls absolutely into the wheelhouse of my old friend Frosty Woldridge back in Golden, Colorado. Frosty said for a long, long time on this program that the number of illegal aliens in this country is far, far more than what we're being told. We've been told 11, 12 million, etc. Well, now a couple of professors, I believe at Yale University, have come out with a study, and they said, whoa, wait a minute, the numbers are really skewed and much lower. We're being told much lower than what they actually are. And they have said that the number of illegal aliens in this country may well be over 29 million, with no border security, no laws respected, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. I absolutely am in condemnation of the Senate for passing that spending bill without putting any money in there for the wall. Our border security for our country is not important. We're going to, and I understand that Frosty just recently returned from that bike trip that he left on in June, I believe it was. And I'm going to call him right after the program, and I'm going to see if I can't schedule a special time this week to have him come back and talk about this. I think it's extremely important, and nobody knows more about this problem than he does. Our major sponsor we want to give a lot of thanks to, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they are having a huge, really, really big fall tire sale. That's right. All the tires, all the different tread designs, all the sizes for all the cars and the pickups and the SUVs, the trailers, etc. All your tires. You better get in there today. And along with that, be sure and check out all the great other services like brake service, highly trained brake technicians, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, absolutely. But above all, they are the best in service. They really take care of you. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Yup, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Big day tomorrow on the program. Let's see who we've got scheduled. We're going to have Dave Bego. We're going to have Brian Whitlock talking about Proposition 2, the Medicaid issue tomorrow from 9:30 until 10:30. We're going to change things up a little bit. So be sure and tune in and have your questions about the Medicaid issue, Prop 2, on our program tomorrow. And at the end of the show, we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.